Hello, purple and teal dragons. I hope everybody's having an awesome week so far. I know everything's still so new, but we're figuring it out together, and all we're going to do is just try our best. That's all that me and Miss B are asking of you. So today, I wanted to work with you guys a little bit on topic 11. So that's subtracting tens using models and strategies. So the big question for this topic is, how can I use what I know about subtraction to subtract tens? Before we jump in to learning these strategies, I want to start off by reviewing with you place value. So remember, place value is how much a digit is worth based on where it's at. And you might be thinking, well, what is a digit, Miss Skeens? And a digit is just parts of a number. So let's say I had the number 72. Not even thinking about place value yet. We want to think, how many parts are in this number? Well, we have 1, 2. 2 parts. 2 numbers make up 72. So it has 2 digits. And we can do that for tons of numbers. And some of them are always going to have the same number of digits. If I change this to 43, it's a different number, but it's still made up of 2 parts, 2 digits. Now, if I change it to a 7, this number doesn't have 2 parts anymore. All it has is the lonely little 7. So it is a 1-digit number. We can even go super big and make 3-digit numbers. But we're not going to worry too much about that today. Now, once we figure out our digits or our parts of our number, then we can worry about place value. So place value is how much a digit is worth. So kind of thinking about it as something that has value, something that means something else. So if I have, a dime, I call it a dime, but I know it's worth 10. If I have a penny, I know it's worth 1. Numbers work the same way. So I'm going to bring back that number 72 that we said has 2 digits. And we're going to think about what our place value spots are for this number. All the way over here to the right, this little 2 is called the ones place. That's our numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a 1-digit number, and it's worth exactly what you think it is. If I have 2 apples, that's just 2 apples. Now it gets a little bit more trickier when we go next door. So 1's neighbor, when we go this way, is called the tens place. Now in our tens place, we have the number 7. But when we think about how much that is worth, it's tens. So we have to count by tens to figure out the total for that number. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So this 7 is 70. So all together we have 72. 70 plus 2 to make that number. Now you might be thinking, what does it matter? Why do I have to know place value? Well, it matters because when we start subtracting bigger numbers, we want to make sure that we're using the right tools for either our models, our 10 sticks, or if we're using a hundreds chart, or if we're trying to count in our head. So the first strategy I'm going to work on with you today is using models to solve. So that's our 10 sticks and our 1 cubes or circles. So for this first lesson, lesson 11.1, we don't even have to worry about the ones. They're going to be nice to us. And all we have are groups of 10. So the first problem that I'm going to try with us is 70 minus 20. And I want to look at these two numbers and think, how would I build them using my place value blocks? So if we think of our 10s and our 1s, both of these numbers have zeros in their ones place. So we don't need any ones cubes or circles for this model. They do, however, have 10s. So if we look at 70, we know that the number 70 has 7 10s. So I'm going to pull out 7 of my 10 sticks. Now remember, these sticks do not equal 1. Each one is made up of 10 smaller cubes. So if this is a video game and you get one of these guys, you got 10 points, okay? They are worth 10 points. So we started off with 70. We always start with our bigger number when we're subtracting. And we want to take away 20. Subtract 20. Now the thing about subtraction is we know that our number needs to get smaller. We are removing things. So imagine if you had a big pizza, 70 slices of pizza, and you're eating 20. That pizza is not going to grow bigger. You're taking those slices away. That pizza is getting tinier and tinier until maybe eventually you run out of pizza. So with this one, we're taking away 2 10s, or 20. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove 2 of our 10 sticks because we know that they're worth 10 each. So I'm taking away 1 10 stick, 2 10 sticks. So I'm done with my subtracting, my taking away. Now I want to see, well, how much do I have left after I subtract it? So we can count how many 10s we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 10s are left for this problem. But we want to know what those 10s are worth altogether. So our second step is going to be to count by 10s and see where we end up. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 left over. So altogether, when I took 70 minus 20, I was left with 5 10s, which equals 50. I'm going to do one more example for this strategy. So let's say we had the problem 40 minus 30. Again, we have our 10s, we have our 1s, 10s, and 1s. I'm going to start with my bigger number, 40, and I'm going to model it using my 10 blocks. Now let's say you don't have these at home. You're not a teacher, your parents, your family don't have them for you. You can always draw your 10s just like we do in class. So this time I'm going to draw. So I have 4 10s. So I drew my 4 sticks. And this time I'm taking away 30, or 3 10s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an X in red through the 10s that I want to take away. So I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3, and then I stop because I got to 3 10s. So we can see what's left over. We just have 1 lonely 10 left. And again, we know these sticks are worth 10 points. So that means that 40 minus 30 is 10. So that kind of covers for you guys the basics for lesson 11.1. We can draw our models using what we know about place value to figure out how to subtract our numbers. I am going to do one last problem with you, and that's going to be a word problem. That way we can remember our strategies from class. So for this word problem, we're going to say that Wyatt has 50 Beyblades. And I'm sorry in advance, Wyatt, if I spell this wrong. I don't know how to spell Beyblades the right way. He is going to give AJ 20 Beyblades. We want to know how many does Wyatt have left? So remember, we use cub to help us solve word problems. So that C in cub means that first we want to circle our numbers. So we're going to look at our problem and we're going to see, oh, I've got 50 and 20. So these are probably the 2 numbers that I'm going to be working with for that problem. Our second step in cub is that we're going to underline keywords. So keywords help us figure out if we're adding or we're subtracting. So 2 keywords in this problem that might help us are maybe give, because if we give to somebody, we know that we're taking away from what we had. So Wyatt's going to have less if he gives them to AJ. And another good keyword is how many left. So we're kind of connecting those 2 parts of the problem, because if he has some left, we know he lost some Beyblades. He doesn't have 50. He gave them to AJ, and now he's going to have less total at the end of the day. And our last step is to box our question. So at the end of this problem, we should be able to say how many Beyblades Wyatt has left over after he gave some to AJ. So those are our steps when we're reading our word problem. So we know that we're using 50 and 20, and based on our keywords, giving away and how many left, we know that we're going to subtract. So our next step is to write the problem or the equation. And our equation is kind of the math way of telling the story. So instead of writing it out, we're going to say Wyatt had 50 Beyblades. This is the bigger number. This is what he started with. That always comes first. And we know he gave away, or he's subtracting 20 for AJ. So from there, we just use that modeling strategy I showed you before. We're going to look at our numbers and remember that we have tens and ones. And we know that if we have 5 tens, we can draw our 5 sticks. Now we're going to take away, or we're going to remove the 20 that Wyatt gave to AJ. So I'm going to cross out 2 tens. 1, 2. And I'm done taking away. Now I can count what I have left. I have 1, 2, 3 tens left over, which is the same as 10, 20, 30. So we know that Wyatt has 30 Beyblades left after he gave some away to AJ. So that covers our first lesson, guys, 11-1, using models to subtract. You can check out the next video I'm going to post soon about using your hundreds chart to help you subtract. I hope everybody has an awesome day and that this video was helpful, and I'm giving dragon kisses to everybody. I miss you all.